So let's jump into episode 11, the penultimate episode of all of Andor. And we begin this episode on Coruscant, picking right back up in the hospital. And we're on the dead stormtrooper that she shot in the head, her being Kleya. And Hirt examines him as his assistant explains the situation. In the background, a man is getting agitated. It's the hospital owner. And they believe that it was a team of 3 that led the attack because based on the carnage, how else could it not be more than a team of 3, right?
And that's, again, that Imperial arrogance that they've been talking about the whole time, right? Yeah. They're constantly, even now, underestimating. Like, no, it couldn't have been one person. It had to be a team.
Yeah. So the hospital owner comes to confront her, and Hirt threatens to arrest him. The owner gets the point, and locks the doors to the entire hospital. So if you need to go to the hospital anywhere in this area on Coruscant, don't go to this one.
Yeah, don't do this one.
It's locked.
I wonder how many hospitals are on Coruscant in any given like square mile radius.
It makes me wonder, like, because the place that I live has like a tire shop on every corner. Is there like a speeder engine thing on every corner on Coruscant? What's going on?
I don't know. There's probably I'm sure Star Wars even still has payday loan places. Checks for credits.
Jabba. It's like
Jabba's checks for credits.
It's you know, he's not the face of it, but it's his. He owns.
Yeah, I mean, it's his operation.
Yeah. Anyway, nobody can get in the hospital, and they give him full access to the security logs. At the ISB headquarters, Dedra waits in an interrogation room alone, and Krennic strolls along just down, and he shuts down the recording devices. He slowly enters behind her and stays there for a moment. He wants to know who else knows. I just got to say, Krennic is such a diva.
Oh.
And I love him.
Got a big old flair for the dramatic, that one. Theatrical, like definitely a former theater kid, Krennic.
Oh,
he was
100%.
in the theater program in the Imperial Academy growing up.
He
came up before the Imperial Academy, the Republic Academy.
He does community theater still.
Yeah.
100%.
Oh yeah. He moonlights. He's really embarrassed about it, but then one day he gets the courage up to invite the office to the showing.
And that's when Tarkin decided to take the Death Star from him.
Yep. That was like, oh, okay. You're unfit for leadership.
I'm just imagining Darth Vader in the audience, just kind of enjoying it.
Yeah.
Crying under his mask, thinking of Padme. Yeah, so Krennic bends down and gets close to her. What would drag him down to this forsaken basement? And Dedra says the words, Death Star. And he asks who else knows, and she says, Partagaz knows. And when she doesn't give details of who else knows, Krennic accuses her of being a rebel spy. And that gets her talking pretty quickly because that's like the worst thing to say to her.
Yeah, it's been who she and the rest of the ISB have been hunting the entire time.
Right. Yeah, and so she starts spilling the beans. Legret's brother on Scarif knows something. Lonnie knew, and she tries to throw Hirt under the bus. But then Krennic asks when she gave Lonnie her code cert, and she's thrown off by that. She's confused, and he bends down again and asks how she knows about Galen Erso. And then she says several intel bundles were forwarded to her by mistake. And she has 2 years worth of files. And Krennic says that she's just a scavenger. So basically, she's been getting emails that she wasn't supposed to be getting. Yeah. And she just started putting the pieces together.
Yeah. She was in some group chats that she was not meant to be in.
Yeah. That never happens, but here it is in Star Wars happening.
Yeah, it never happens.
Krennic then puts his finger on top of her head. This made me a little uncomfortable because it's like, oh my gosh, this guy. And then
something about the glove, like his black gloves, and just the one finger. Yeah, it was was bad.
I almost wonder if that was like a improvisation. It was
Improvisation.
improvised. Thank you. It's getting late.
It is.
I'm so tired.
Oh.
Anyways, I'm wondering if Ben Mendelsohn decided to do that on his own.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's cool.
I don't know, but who knows?
It's a nice touch.
It was a terrifying choice either way.
And so he goes on to say Lonnie spent 3 hours logged into her account the night before, and Krennic wants to know what he told Luthen. But then she says that she was only searching for Axis. Yes, she was a scavenger, but because she had to be, because nobody gave her access to anything, she was forced to do all the things that she was doing. Krennic loses it. And he is so good at losing it. Like, oh my gosh, he's so good. And he says, if you're not a rebel spy, you've missed your calling, which is
cutting,
sweet,
just scathing. Yeah.
Mindo's so good. Dedra then says Kleya is still missing. They have to find her. And then Krennic grabs her head and sits her down. Like he physically just grabs her head and sits her and pushes her back down, saying they'll do their best to carry on without her. He's so sarcastic.
It's terrifying. He's so scary. He's doing just Ben Mendelsohn eating it up.
Yeah, he is so good. Then we cut back to the hospital and Hurt questions the camera tech and he's just a little too chatty. And they start checking the cameras after Hurt tells him to shut up. Then we cut to the safe house as Kleya hammers away at the wall, but we're not sure exactly what she's looking for just yet. And then at the hospital, they identify Kleya's face. And in the safe house, she finally finishes and retrieves a stashed away comm unit. She quickly sets it up, and once she gets it going, she uses the Star Wars equivalent to Morse code.
Yeah.
At the hospital, they realize that there was no team. It was only her, and she types in the code, hoping someone is listening.
Yeah, it's cool that they have telegraphs in Star Wars. It begs to reason that there would be, right? Because if you're talking about communications over incredibly long distances and stuff like that, it's probably way easier to get through this telegraph than like a hologram, you know?
Yeah, I would say so.
The equivalent of a FaceTime.
Right.
Probably less bandwidth for the telegraph. So
I would imagine so. But then we kind of get out of what we were doing on Coruscant and we see Yavin 4 again, and my heart is just full every single time I see this planet.
Yeah, Yavin has been so great in season 2 of Andor. I've loved seeing the Rebel base. I've loved seeing like the residential parts of it where people are just hanging out. And there's tons of just hanging out and that kind of thing, and just cutting it up with the other Rebel soldiers.
That's to and fro, just being a rebel,
Yeah.
And that's exactly what we see. It's a calm night on Yavin as Wilman leaves a Masasi temple after a long day of rebelling, and he makes it back to his hut with Drina, and she asks what is hidden under the bed, and that's never something you want to hear from your significant other when you walk in.
Yeah, regardless of if you have something hidden under the bed or not.
It's not going to be a good conversation, no matter what's going on there. And as soon as Wilman sees it, his tiredness disappears like immediately. It's a radio, and he asks how long ago it went off. And at Cassian's hut, he, Melshi, and K2 play a version of Star Wars Dominoes, which I think is really, really fun and cool.
Yeah. Well, and it's also poker because there's like betting and
dominoes
bluffing and
poker. Yeah.
It's fun. I want to learn the rules to this game. All the game pieces in Star Wars always look so cool. The cards are shaped fun. These little pebble rocks are so smooth looking.
Well, but I will as we're closing out our coverage on Andor here. This is what the show did so well, of just like these little things. I know it doesn't really matter to a lot of the general audience, but man, it matters a lot to me to get to see this kind of stuff. And like, what is life like when they're not saving the galaxy? What do they do? What do they do in their downtime? I love seeing these kind of things.
Yeah, for sure. It's good to see. I'll like also just like earlier in the season with all the Chandrillan culture and traditions that like they didn't have to flesh it out that much. It could have just been kind of a standard wedding, but it just adds so much color and life to the world, and makes the story much more vivid.
Oh my, I love it much. So yeah, they're having a good time messing with K2, and K2 can't believe the way Melshi is playing, and they realize that K2 is nervous, and they're laughing at him when Will arrives with the radio, and he slams it down on the table, kind of ruining the vibe and the mood of what was going on.
Oh, this is suddenly much more serious than the evening we had planned.
Yeah, but I just love the back and forth between Melshi, Cassian, and K2 of like, they're literally just messing with him.
Yeah, and it's like they're learning the ways and the individual ways they can mess with a droid versus like a human, and like all the just the pointing out the funny things about K2's logic and everything like that. I don't know, and just like playing poker with a droid, that's just an interesting question to pose. Is like, how does that work? Can they bluff? Are they too analytical to be able to lie against? Like, who knows?
If you remember back in season 1, I think it's even the very first episode of Andor, B2 says something along the lines of he has enough power to lie if Cassian wants him to.
Yeah, it takes more energy to override the truth programming logic or whatever.
Right. So yeah, they have the ability, but I think it drains them a little bit. So on Coruscant, Hurt walks with a smug little smile on his face to the ISB headquarters. And in the meeting room, a hologram of Kleya floats before Partagaz and Krennic. Krennic tells Hurt to put the image as far as it can go until they find her. Failure earns you a place in the ever-lengthening ISB death march. I love the way he says that. And Hurt asks, okay, so what should the charges be? And Partagaz just gets fed up. He's like, oh my God, why did we hire these idiots? And he goes, she's diseased. She's escaped the hospital with an infectious condition that threatens everyone whom she can come into contact with. She must be found before thousands die. And he's like, this is like what we do, dude. How can you not come up with that? And almost as soon as Partagaz gets the words out, Krennic asks, what are you still doing here?
Just get out. Like, why are you not moving already?
Yeah.
So snarky. I would hate to work under Krennic.
Oh God, you are walking on eggshells constantly with that guy.
Yeah, it's
oh my
bad.
Gosh. Partagaz then brings up the Death Star, and Krennic calls him by his first name, which is Leo, and says that he can't protect him. So you get the sense that Krennic and Partagaz have actually been working together for a long time, because Partagaz, it turns out, has been keeping the Death Star project secret and quiet for Krennic.
Yeah, it's almost like he was the ISB agent tasked with keeping all of that under wraps. And it seems like they've had a personal relationship and have kind of worked closely over the years.
Yeah, and Partagaz is upset because he was supposed to be ready by now. And Krennic remarks that he sounds like Tarkin now, which I really like. And Partagaz insists that it's a miracle they've kept it quiet this long. And I 100% agree with him, Mac. Like, the man has done his job. Krennic, if you're getting mad, it's because you won't get the thing done. Just get it done.
Yeah, like done, it's crazy the success Partagaz has had with all that. Like,
it's been 19 years.
Yeah. And like the plans were even existent before the Empire. So
yeah, we see him in episode 2, Attack of the Clones.
Like, it's crazy.
I think Partagaz deserves a raise for doing that.
If anything.
Yeah, if anything. So Partagaz tells him to save his sermon for Palpatine. And Krennic's like, I'll do just that. And then he says that he's got to depart for Scarif. And that's really kind of the last time we see Krennic before we see him in Rogue One, which, again, he's in the mindset now of like, I've got to get this task done. And so he's going to start unraveling, as we see in Rogue One.
Are you blind?
Deploy the garrison. In the safe house, Clea waits for an answer on the comms, and she goes back to try it again when the timer beeps. So it's like every few hours or something, she can send it again.
Yeah.
On Yavin 4, they also wait for a signal, and Cassian questions the last time it was tested. K2 goes on about how this is clearly against the rules, but nobody is listening to him. And the message begins, and K2 realizes what kind of code it is. He assesses it very, very quickly. And Cassian immediately asks if the U-Wing is powered up, and then he asks Melshi if he's ready. He says that he is, and he orders Will to go and get them on the test roster because they don't want to be shot down taking off. Cassian turns into a soldier so quickly in this scene. Like, as soon as he knows what kind of message this is, he goes from drinking Revnog with the buddies to I'm going to kill everyone in my path if I have to.
So quick. And I guess like it kind of goes to show that this message can really only mean one thing.
Yeah.
That like Luthen's compromised.
Right.
Or, Clea by
right, but he doesn't know that
extension.
Yet.
Right.
Yeah, that cell is compromised. But also, I want to say, I know this is a big deal. This episode, I'm going to reward Melshi the Brasso That Dude Award.
Yeah, I'm good with that. I'm good with that. We don't get much time for Melshi to exemplify this, but the screen time we do, I do think he is being that dude.
Well, like, no question from him. As soon as Cassian says, "Go get your gun and stuff, we got to go," he's like, "You got it."
Cool, because he's not like Will and Cassian. He didn't come up under Luthen,
right.
He may not even know what this code means, but he's just like, "Oh, you're rolling, I'm rolling too."
Yeah.
So yeah.
So he earns that dude award for this episode. So congratulations to Melshi. In the hangar bay, Draven and his assistant march through, and he's upset knowing that Cassian is leaving. And then we cut to inside the U-Wing, and K2 ask if they'd like to know how many orders they disobeyed before they jump into hyperspace. He says 17, and then right before they jump, he's like 18.
It's so good. I've loved having Alan Tudyk back for K2. Just good stuff.
Oh my gosh. It does really. It feels a little more Star Warsy with the banter back and forth, right? It feels a little lighter every time he's around.
For sure. Love his personality, and it's fun because like he's getting used to the world, and then all the rebels are also getting used to him still. So like you can tell they're still sort of feeling each other out to see how best to interact and everything. Yeah.
On Coruscant, Dedra sits alone in her cell when Hurt comes to visit her, and she asks if Luthen is dead, and he confirms that he is, but that Clea is on the run, and he asks for her advice because he's truly lost, and he says that if she helps, it might help her cause. And she finally gives in, and she says that Clea will reach out, but she will use an old radio with old frequencies, kind of like the ones that they had on Ferrix and the one that they gave to Anto Krieger.
Yeah. Yeah, and you're getting like the extent of how they're using like their own like old outdated frequencies and technologies and stuff to stay under the radar. It's cool.
On Yavin 4, Draven questions Will, and Will says that they went to Coruscant because it was a final call scenario. And Will does a really good job standing up for Luthen here, saying that none of this would be here without him. And Draven then confines Will to his quarters for helping Cassian and Melshi and K2 get off of Yavin 4. Draven's just a guy trying to bring like some semblance of...
He's trying to be the adult in the room.
Yeah. Like, we can't all do what we want, guys. Come on.
Like, we can't just be doing this. Like, yeah,
he's
it's like he's begging for the bare minimum at all times.
He's like a teacher, honestly. It's like when a teacher is like, come on. Like, they like the student, but the student just won't stop doing the thing that they should not be doing. And it's like, okay, let's go to the office.
Yeah.
Let's just
get it over with.
On Coruscant, Hurt arrives back at the gallery where they are still cataloging everything, and he speaks with the comm specialist, and she's amazed at how they did it, but she's a little too amazed. Wrong place, wrong time, as she's getting excited for it. Again, a little more humor in these final episodes, which was nice.
Yeah, it helps it kind of feel like that we're coming back home to the Star Wars tone and everything that that we're familiar with to close her out.
Yeah. Outside of Coruscant, Melshi looks out at amazement at Coruscant because he's never been there before. But K2 says that he was once in a parade on Coruscant with like 100 other KX units, and the Emperor was there. So,
and it was like him wrestling with, because he remembers this with pride almost, right?
Yes.
But then he's realizing as he says that what it means for him to have pride in this, and like you're watching him process that. It's almost
like he whispers it. He's like, there. Which just Alan Tudyk, his performance again. I don't like everything that he's in. He's pretty much the same character in everything that he's in, but I love the character. Yeah,
except for Pirate Steve. That's a pretty particular character.
You're right. You're right. That is a little different. At the safe house. Just imagining K2 as Pirate Steve.
It's Pirate Steve. Yarr. Please do not be resistant.
That's just SM33 though.
that is what you get, actually.
Yeah.
Pirate Steve is the combination of K2SO and SM33.
Yeah, Smee. At the safe house, Kleya is starting to lose it a little when she finally gets Cassian's message. And at the gallery, they start picking up the message too. And they realize what's going on immediately. Hurt reaches out to Partagaz to tell him about the lead, and they're going to take a tactical team to intercept the source of the signal. Then the U-Wing descends down towards the safe house, and when they land, Cassian confirms where they're going. And at the ISB headquarters, a tactical shuttle departs with the interception team. Cassian and Melshi head towards the entrance while K2 stays behind, and I love his little he gives right here of like when
I see how it's gonna be.
Yeah. And the tactical team speed towards the safe house, and they shut down all frequencies in the area. And K2 notices. Also loved how he looked bored, like he was just sitting there like that, like with his hand on his face.
They really put some personality into him when they reprogrammed him. I know that the mad scientist was like, it's a little bit of an understatement or whatever, but
yeah, that droid Smith, man. Cassian notices that K2 doesn't respond to him, but they continue on to the lift anyway. And K2 watches as the shuttle lands, and he says, "Oh no." By the way, I had this thought as they were getting into the lift, Mac, but me and you could totally cosplay as Melshi and Cassian, I think. Right?
Who's who?
You're Cassian, I'm Melshi.
Okay.
I think we could pull that look off.
Like, I've got to lose a lot of weight to be able to pull off Andor, I think.
I think we could do it.
Yeah, I mean, we could. I'll spend a few years in the gym and I'll get back with you.
So that's what we're doing in the lead up to The Mandalorian and Grogu. We are training for a half marathon together, and you're gonna hear our journey as we podcast as we run. We're gonna
become a fitness podcast.
We're gonna talk about The Mandalorian as we run.
Yeah, it's gonna be a whole lot more.
Oh God. Yes. But also, you should stay tuned for news about what the future of the podcast is and plans that we have.
Got some big stuff. The summer is usually when we start trying to try some things.
Dun 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 dun. Okay, Melshi. That was a hint. They call that a tease.
Yeah, Shazam it. You'll know.
Melshi asked if That's funny. Melshi asks if this is the place because yikes, what a dump. He's like, this is the safe house? Are you sure?
It's like, doesn't seem very safe, if you ask me.
Yeah. They head down the hallway slowly, cautiously, and I'm like, guys, hurry up. Why are you taking your time? You need to get her out of there. Of course, they don't realize that the tactical team is just outside. Cassian knocks the pattern on the door, and Clea is hesitant to open. And inside the shuttle, Hurt gets out his Ghostbuster equipment. Is that not just like the thing from Ghostbusters?
Pretty much. It's even got the little wings and everything. Yeah,
I swear that's like I've seen this before. And so they're going to use that to hone in on this signal inside the building. And when Clea won't open the door, he finally calls out, but he's calling for Luthen, but realizes quickly what happened when he sees Clea open the door. And she says, it would be you, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I mean, Cassian is there. He's the one who gets everybody out of the worst jams. Like it very fitting line. And you really feel the weight of everything we've watched them go through together over the last 2 seasons, like in that line, I think.
Yeah. And I don't know if you get this sense or not, but she's kind of spiraling a little bit, right?
Yeah.
Like as she's telling them everything, it's almost like she's losing her mind a little bit. And Cassian needs confirmation that Luthen is dead. He's like, are you sure he's dead? Like, because I think they're seeing how she's reacting to everything because she's just had nothing but time to think about this stuff. And they're just walking in on this situation and hearing it for the first time. And they're like,
slow down. Like
what is going on?
Yeah. We got to get our heads around this a little bit. But it also just shows like she's had the single, like the one track mind of like, I have to get this message to everybody, you know? So the first thing that happens when they bust in is she starts telling them the message.
Yeah. Oh gosh. And I feel the tension too with Clea because I'm like, guys, just outside the tactical team is entering the building. You guys need to hurry. And Clea wants Cassian to repeat what she's saying. Luthen died for this, and Cassian tells her that they cannot stay there. Clea doesn't believe that there's anywhere to go. They won't accept her on Yavin, but they need to hear it from her, not Cassian. So like they're trying to convince her, like, you have to come with us. There's no way we're just leaving you behind and just going back and saying, hey, we learned this information. You've got to be the one to tell them.
Yeah. Like we need it firsthand. Like it's crazy.
It's shocking to me how much she's worried to go to Yavin and I think she's probably thinking, I'm going to be tried for war crimes.
Right. Well, and because I mean, she would have been privy to Luthen's tension with the Yavin leadership and everything like that. And I get the sense that Luthen in particular was not welcome on Yavin, and she's worried that she's also going to not be welcome by extension.
Absolutely. And so we learn the tactical team is on the wrong floor, and then one of the team members guarding the door asks if they requested an enforcement droid, and K2 enters the shuttle, and from the ISB headquarters, we hear the radio go silent after K2 crushes the man's head.
Yeah, just going to work.
Which is awesome.
Yeah, it's good to see K2 get to kind of show up in a big way in this episode.
Yeah, the tactical team opens the door, but they're in the wrong apartment. It's directly above them, and Clea confronts Cassian about leaving them behind, and Cassian argues that he could have joined them if he had just swallowed his pride, and then she grabs his jacket and says, thank the galaxy he didn't. He stayed for this being that information about the Death Star.
Yeah.
And then we close out the episode as the tactical team is getting closer and closer, and it's honestly a crazy cliffhanger. But really, I'm seeing this and 12 as one episode. There's not a lot of distinction between the two.
I would agree with that. 12 does the final wrap up of this particular storyline, and then does some wrap up for the series as a whole, and kind of the latter half, I think. Yeah. Of the 3 episodes, I thought 11 was a little bit slower just because it's sandwiched in between the 2 episodes it's sandwiched in between, but I still really, really like it. There's so much heart in it. There's so much it's the action, all the spy stuff is on, in peak form. It's a good stuff. But there's one more episode that we're gonna have to talk about.